My friends, welcome to Prof and Dev Play Games. I am the professor, and this is episode X5. This is extra episode 5. We haven't recorded an extra episode since February when we did the Firewatch spoiler cast, but I wanted to make a special episode to talk about my gaming resolution for 2016 and 2017. And my gaming resolutions are based on the 12 and 12 idea. There's a subreddit that was created to help people tackle their backlogs, and a lot of people make gaming resolutions for the year to tackle 12 games from their backlog, to kind of clear that out a little bit, play games that they've purchased in the past, and then that kind of helps them not purchase games in the future. So there was a lot of movement with my gaming resolutions from 2016, my 12 and 12, which expanded a lot. I kind of wanted to go through it, kind of talk about the games that I played, talk about the ideas that I had for making that resolution and whether or not I was able to stick with it, and then talk a little bit about my gaming resolution for 2017. So for 2016, at the end of 2015, I made a resolution that I would play 12 games in 12 months. And I made this resolution because I didn't really finish a lot of games. I kind of bounced from game to game to game and never really went for completion. And then I would maybe get bored, I don't know, and then buy a new game and then play for a little bit and didn't really scratch any itch, and I'd keep going and going and going. Kind of had, as I mentioned to one of my friends here, gaming ADD. I just really couldn't stick with one. So I was hoping that the 12 and 12 resolution would help me finish games, basically, and purchase fewer games. And as part of the resolution, I also said that I would spend no more than $300 on new games in 2016. I kept to a budget for the first half of 2016 and did stick to under $300, but I ended up spending way more than $300 last year. I spent about $700 to $800 on new games, which is quite a bit and more than I wanted to spend, but honestly less than I spent in 2015. So making a goal actually kept me conscious of what I wanted to play. So at the beginning of 2016, I said that I wanted to play 12 games from my backlog, and I listed the games, and these are the games that I said I would beat. I said I would beat the Mass Effect trilogy, 1, 2, and 3, Bloodborne, the Nathan Drake collection, which was Uncharted 1, Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3. I said I'd beat Rise of the Tomb Raider, Life is Strange, Fallout 4, Lego Marvel, Yoshi's Woolly World, the Master Chief Collection, 2, 3, and 4, because I had beaten 1 before, back in 2015. Persona 4 Golden, The Last of Us, and Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition. So of that list, I ended up beating Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, Nathan Drake Collection 1, 2, and 3, the Master Chief Collection Halo 2 and Halo 3, but not 4, and then Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition. So from that list, I beat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. But I said that I would beat 12, and for each one that I listed, like Mass Effect Trilogy, for example, was all 1. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 were listed as one item in that list of 12. So actually, I ended up only knocking off 4 items from that list, and I didn't even finish Halo 4, so really 3.5. I did not beat Bloodborne, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Life is Strange, Fallout 4, Lego Marvel, Yoshi's Woolly World, Persona 4 Golden, or The Last of Us. So I kind of didn't achieve my backlog challenge there, except for I also listed a bunch of extras, things that I really couldn't decide on 12 games, so I added more to the list at the bottom. And I ended up listing games like Final Fantasy VII, which I didn't beat, Dragon Age Inquisition, which I didn't beat. But then I listed a game like Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which I did beat, The Order 1886, which I also beat, and then Rise was another game that I beat from my backlog, and Batman Arkham Asylum. So including the extras, quote-unquote, that I kind of added later, I ended up beating 13 games from my backlog. So my goal was to beat 12 games from my backlog in 2016, and I ended up being 13, which was good. I beat 13 games. Problem was, I ended up beating about 26 or 27 games in 2016, and a little over half of them were new games. So I didn't really keep to my challenge of purchasing fewer new games and playing more old games. Even though I did purchase fewer games in 2016 than I did in 2015, I still over half of the games that I beat in 2016 were new games that I purchased in 2016. So I'm hoping to kind of rectify that in 2017 and beat one of my goals I'll get to later is beating more games that were published before January 1st, 2017. Basically not buying new games. I mean, I will buy some new games. They have to be realistic, but beating more games that are older than newer games. So the ratio should be better next year instead of half and half. Of the games that I beat that were not on my backlog list, they were Firewatch, Unravel, Her Story, Quantum Break, Witcher 3, Blood and Wine, Inside, Uncharted 4, Oxenfree, Actual Sunlight, Fire Emblem Fate, Birthright, Destiny Rise of Iron, Bound, Gone Home, Watch Dogs 2, Star Fox Zero, and Story Path of Destinies, and Batman the Telltale series. So I beat quite a few games, about 26 games or so, and I kind of wanted to go quickly through them, talk about what I liked from the year, because that was quite a bit. With Anthony, the dev, I went through my top 5 of the year, and Uncharted 4 is definitely still my top 1 of the year. But if I were to add in everything that I played, my top 3 would probably be Mass Effect 2, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and Uncharted 4 would probably be my top 3. And of course, 2 of those are games that came out before 2016. But playing the Mass Effect trilogy in 1 year was great because so I played Mass Effect 1 on the Xbox via backwards compatibility, but 2 and 3 on the PC. But it was great because it's a huge story, and the ability to go through that huge story in the year was great. Instead of having to wait several years to get back into the story, waiting for the games to naturally release like a lot of gamers did, I was able to tackle it in one calendar year and kind of keep the story fresh in my head. I did not play any of the DLC for those games. I'm hoping for a remaster edition so that I can replay the series, including the DLC. But it was nice to play Mass Effect 1 in January, 2 I beat it in July, and 3 I beat it in December. So it kind of bookended the year pretty well. The Nathan Drake collection, I played 1. I got about halfway through, and then I gave up because it was just monotonous for me. So I ended up watching the story on YouTube and jumping into 2 immediately afterwards, which I was glad that I did because 2 is one of my favorite games, really of all time. So I'd probably throw it up on the list too, actually. Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Mass Effect 2, Uncharted 2, and Uncharted 4 were the best games I played this year. And I marathoned 2 and 3 and 4 all at the end of October and the beginning of November. So those were just great action-adventure games. I really dug the linear quality of the games and the set pieces. The gunplay I could do without. I really liked the story. I played Master Chief Collection early in the year. I beat Halo 2 in February and Halo 3 in March. I got halfway through 4 and I just couldn't get through one section of 4, and I kind of turned away from it and didn't come back to it. I'm hoping to get through it and beat it. And 5 this year, I hope. And then Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition. I had beat this game before on the computer, but I went through on the console, and it just feels natural on the console. The funny thing about it was that I didn't know you could remap the inputs on the controller or remap like the skills. So I was not playing with the optimum skills, but that's fine. It was a fun game. I played through Act 5 for the first time when playing on the console, and I'm looking forward to getting into the new update that dropped today. Has a little bit of a Diablo 1 Easter egg dungeon that I'm looking forward to playing. Assassin's Creed Syndicate is one of the best games I played in this year that was released last year or in 2015. I hadn't played too many Assassin's Creed games until Syndicate, and Syndicate is the first one and only one at this point that I've beaten completely. But I just absolutely loved Syndicate. I played it to completion. I'm going back for the platinum because it's a game that needs to be platinumed. There is a trophy about knocking down like posts and trees and things with your cart that's really, really annoying to get. But the rest of it's pretty manageable. It's just, a tight story, really great mechanics. Playing other Assassin's Creeds that don't have the zipline mechanic kind of sucks now because that zipline mechanic is rad. So I'm hoping to see that continue. Firewatch played this year, talked a lot about it this year. Really dug maybe half the story, the art style, the music, the voice acting. But half the story and the ending sucked. But it's given me enough to put Campo Santo on my map for what game they're going to play next, and I hope that it's something that kind of sticks with me or that I enjoy a little better than Firewatch, although Firewatch it's worth a play. Unravel, something I played immediately after Firewatch, another indie, just beautiful. This one's a platformer, playing as Yarny, kind of getting through the levels swinging around on yarn. And the idea at the end of the game kind of, to me, seems like you're being reincarnated or you're exploring the issues of life and death. And it just was really touching. One of the most touching games of the year to me. I also played The Order this year, 1886. Beautiful, kind of an interactive movie. The ending really set up like a really great sequel that I'm not sure that we'll get because the sales for The Order were pretty abysmal because there was a huge circle jerk of hate for this game because they dared to charge $60 for an interactive movie experience that didn't have a lot of meat on the bones. But if you kind of get past the circle jerk of hate on this game, it's actually a pretty compelling story. I played Her Story. Anthony and I played that earlier this year, and it didn't really stick with me that much. I like that you're reading through or looking through videos and trying to figure out what happened in this woman's life in this story, but I'm glad I played it, I guess. Quantum Break, kind of a story, a game where you're kind of time traveling and trying to figure out, as you're going through the game, you choose different paths to go through. And the choices you make in some way affect these half an hour kind of television shows that are between the episodes of the game. So you play like an episode of the game, and then your choices impact the TV show, and then you play the game again, TV show, et cetera, et cetera. This is one of the games that I played all in Spanish this year as I was learning Spanish, and it was a really engaging experience for that. I'm not sure how much I liked the story or the game even. It was okay, and then the ending was truly, truly abysmal. So that sucks. For me, you really have to stick the landing for me to really like your game, especially if you're a story-heavy game, and that one and Firewatch really didn't do it. Also played Blood and Wine, the Witcher 3 expansion. It was just fun, just kind of playing with the idea of chivalrous knights in just a really vibrant land, something different than the rest of Witcher 3. It was a nice send-off for Geralt. Inside, I played one of my games of the year, number 2 for me, from the games that actually came out this year. Just a quick 5 to 6 hour indie game. Really smart, but not too difficult puzzles. Really just an ambiguous story. Really kind of haunting. It's stuck with me all year. The ramifications of what your actions are in the game. So I recommend people play that. Uncharted 4, talked a lot about that already, but my game of the year, just great story. Great set pieces, a 15-hour story that to me didn't overstay its welcome and ended with an epilogue that really kind of closes out the story of these characters in a good way. Played Oxenfree. That was our video game book club selection. It was slow. The mechanics were slow, but I liked the way that the dialogue choices happen. It's kind of like a Telltale thing that your choices kind of influence your relationship with the characters, but the way that the mechanic expresses itself in the game was interesting. And then the supernatural kind of radio frequencies part of the game gave it like a Lost kind of vibe and was really interesting. It would be a lot more enjoyable if the walking wasn't so damn slow, but I think it's worth a play. Actual Sunlight was a text-based game pretty much that I played on the Vita. It was a PS Plus title sometime last year. It kind of explores the idea of depression, and it was okay. It was a quick game, almost 100%ed it. I was standing in line at PSX, so it was something to play, but it's not something that I would probably recommend. At PSX, I also played Fire Emblem Fate's Birthright, finished the game. This is one of the top games of the year for me as well. Just a really solid Fire Emblem with a decent story to hang the strategic battle system on. Nothing, to write home about in terms of story, but it was a really good Fire Emblem. And this one came with 3 different versions of Fire Emblem, so it's, if you're a Fire Emblem fan, that's a must get. Played Destiny Rise of Iron. I always play the single player campaigns. I never play the multiplayer. And it was okay. I can't really remember much about it, but it was enjoyable. It was just a fun game to play. And that's what I go to Destiny for, the mechanics and just to have some fun and then to get out. So I like that it's, it respects my time. It doesn't last too long, and most people play it for the strikes and the raids and multiplayer, and I get in for the story and get out. A story of what there is of it. Also played Bound, which was an indie game released in the summer. Basically, just the weirdest game. I really wanted something weird at that point. It was you play as a dancer, kind of dancing through this kind of really stylized world. you're like a princess or something, or a queen, or your mom's a queen, so that'd make you a princess, I suppose. Plot-wise, not really sure what happened there, but just the gameplay, dancing around the world and kind of exploring for a short game, it was something that I enjoyed for that moment, but I probably wouldn't play again unless I could check it out in VR. Gone Home, heard a lot of good stuff about Gone Home. It was okay. Kind of, walking simulator with an empty house with a story, and you kind of figure out what the story is, and that was interesting. There wasn't the wow factor for me with the ending like a lot of people, but I'm glad that I played it. Watch Dogs 2, one of my games of the year. Like that, if I had finished it before Anthony and I had recorded, it would have been in the top 5. And I'm going to drop a podcast about my thoughts on Watch Dogs 2 later in the week. But overall, just a really fun, engaging, vibrant open world. Batman Telltale series, I really liked it. I thought that the last 2 episodes were a little weak, but episodes 1, 2, and 3 were pretty strong, and they twisted Batman canon, basically. Who his parents were, who Bruce Wayne's parents were, why they died, who Vicky Vale is, who Bruce Wayne really is. It really had a lot of interesting things to say about the Batman universe, and I really liked my experience with it. It's not something that wowed me, but it was a solid experience. Star Fox Zero, hated it from the moment I started it till the moment I finished it. It was about a 5-hour game, so it was easy to finish, but the controls that they tried to shoehorn into that game just to like prove the existence of the gamepad just made me irate. They were fucking awful, and people will defend it because for whatever reason, I don't know, but they were awful, terrible, and it really sucks that they tried to shoehorn them into that game. Stories, Path of Destinies, I talked about in a previous podcast, but I love stories that you're able to change the ending based upon the decisions you make in the game, and that's one that has 25 different endings, so there's a lot to play with there. And then Arkham Asylum I played in this year on the PC, and that once I started playing it, I couldn't stop. About 10-hour journey. Really a superb game. Kind of define that genre and define what the Arkham games would be later. Maybe the best Metroid outside of Metroid. Just the way that things are gated and you can't progress until you get certain abilities. So that's kind of what I did in 2016. I really enjoyed the 12 and 12 challenge because it helped focus my gaming and helped me honestly beat so many games. Honestly, I probably would have just wandered off and played other games and not really finished anything. But to have a list that I wanted to keep scratching the games off really kept me focused, and made me get a lot more enjoyment out of the games that I had, and I played them longer, which meant that I ended up buying fewer games, which really helped me out. And that's kind of something I'm hoping to take forward into 2017, where not only playing the games for my backlog and a couple of new games, but also really just like wringing like the joy out of the games in a positive way, not like making them joyless experiences, but getting my money's worth and more, finding fun in collecting trophies and doing side quests and more than just mainlining the campaign or the story. So my goal for 2016 is to play to completion more games that were purchased before January 1st, 2017 than games that were purchased during 2017, and to play to completion another 12 games from my backlog. But I added a couple more things this year as well. I'm going to start with the 12 games from my backlog, but I also want to add a smaller section of 8 games that I want to play and beat that are 2017 releases. So 12 games from my backlog, 8 new games, and I'm going to try really hard to stick to 8 new games this year and not do any more than that. So I want to be really intentional about the games I play and what I buy. And then I'm going to add a smaller section of 4 games that I want to experience as Let's Plays. Basically older games that I've been told are just great games. You really need to play these games, but I know I'm not going to go back and play them. So I just want to like experience them as a visual medium, watch other people play them. So without further ado, the 12 and 12 backlog games that I want to beat in 2017 are these. And I've grouped up series just like I did in 2016. So number 1 is Halo 4 and Halo 5. That's all one entry. That's what I want to beat this year. Number 2 is The Last of Us. 3 is Life is Strange. Number 4 is The Walking Dead Seasons 1, 2, and 3. Seasons 1, 2, and Michonne. Not 3. Final Fantasy 15. The Ezio Collection. Number 7, Persona 4 Golden. Number 8, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Number 9, Ratchet and Clank. Number 10, Witcher 2 and a replay of Witcher 3. Number 11, Catherine. And number 12, BioShock 1, 2, and Infinite. So those are games that I'm hoping to beat for my backlog in 2017, see if I can stick to them. You'll notice that there are several on this list that were on my list last year that I didn't get to. Halo 4, Last of Us, Life is Strange, Persona 4 Golden, and Rise of the Tomb Raider. So I'm hoping to get to those this year. New games that I want to beat in 2017, Horizon Zero Dawn, Mass Effect Andromeda, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and then whatever the new Mario game is for the Switch. And then 5, 6, 7, and 8 are question marks. I'm leaving room for 4 games that I don't know about that might pique my interest. But my goal, honestly, I'm going to try really hard to stick to this, is that 8 games in 2016, 8 games in 2017 that are brand new that I'm going to buy. And those are the only brand new games I'm going to buy. That leaves me room to buy things on sale, cheaper old games. But I'm really going to try to limit myself on that as well. I really want to limit the amount of new games that I buy for a lot of reasons, but I just have so much old stuff to play that is really quality stuff that I really need to pay some attention to. And then for Let's Plays for 2017, I want to watch a Let's Play of Shadow of the Colossus. I have a friend who continually tells me to sign up for PS Now and to play this game, and it's, I should. It's a classic, and a lot of people talk about it, but I don't think I will. So I really want to still experience the story. And Final Fantasy VI as well. I hear a lot of good things about 6, and I don't think I'll ever get back to play it. So I really want to check it out. And then 2 more games. I'm not sure what they are, but I want to leave those open so I can come back and fill those in later and figure out exactly what I want to watch. So there's some flexibility here in terms of some question marks I've left open, but my backlog is set, and I'm hoping to get through those games this year. So if you're interested in the 12 and 12 challenge, just go to Reddit. Just Google 12 and 12 Reddit, and you'll come up with the 12 and 12 subreddit, 12 months, 12 games. My goal last year was to do that, and I ended up beating 26, which is far more than I usually beat in a year. So if I can at least get 12 this year, that'd be nice. And, you should treat your backlog as an experience of being entertained. It's not a chore. It's like the sunk cost idea that you're going to lose that money if you don't play, but your money's already gone. So if it's like a burden to you, or if it's a chore, just forget about it, move on. But there are things in my backlog that I want to experience, and I think will be very entertaining for me, but I'm not going to let it control me. If I don't like it, I'll just move on. But I do want to be more intentional about new stuff that I buy. So there's a lot of old stuff that I have that can provide a lot of entertainment and joy for me. So I want to check that out before I buy a lot of new games. So thanks for sticking with me through this special episode, and looking forward to seeing you and the dev later in the week when we do our regular podcast. But until then, after I post this and before the new podcast, I'll probably post one more special podcast, which is a little bit of a discussion about Watch Dogs 2, a game that I really liked from this year. So this is me, the professor. I'm at Prof Plays Games on Twitter. If you got anything that you're looking for your 12 and 12 challenge, or things that you are hoping to knock out from your backlog, hit us up on Twitter at Prof Plays Games and let us know. All right. Talk to you later.